Now, I want everybody to bear with me a moment because I read one of the most extraordinary things today that I've read in a long time. So I know this is your show, but
No,
so do
go
I
for
have
it.
my?
You're on top. You're on. Hopefully, this is on topic. Well, I guess we'll
Um,
see.
I think it is, and it's from a girl named Farah who I've interacted with online many many times. I don't know if anything I've ever said to her made her think about anything. Um, I'd like to think that it did. I don't know if it did or not. And this is what she wrote today: a letter to the left. She's an Australian leftist, an Australian progressive. To those who still believe from someone who once did too, I need to tell you something and I need you to hear me out before you decide what I am. I was one of you. Remember, this is a letter to the left. I was one of you, not in some distant theoretical way. I was deeply one of you. I marched, I shared the posts. I believed with total conviction that the progressive vision of the world was not only morally correct, but self evidently so. Anyone who disagreed was ignorant or malicious. I had Trump derangement syndrome, but then I complained about all politicians. I couldn't see it was a case of choosing the best of. I had no middle ground. And that's what finally shook me awake. The realization that I had stopped allowing for middle ground. My thinking had become entirely black and white. I had radicalized slowly, invisibly, without even noticing it was happening to me. The moment of clarity didn't arrive dramatically. It crept in through small, uncomfortable questions I started asking myself. Why was I so certain? Why did I feel such fury toward people who hesitated even slightly on positions that I held? When had I stopped thinking and started simply reacting? When I tried to share these doubts with friends and family, people I loved, people on my side, I wasn't met with conversation. I was met with a wall, a similar wall to what I had previously put up for anyone daring to question me and my positions. Quote, no discussion. You've gone right wing. Lies were constructed about my motives. It didn't matter that I was asking questions in good faith. The act of questioning itself was the crime. This is not normal. A political movement that forbids its own members from thinking critically is not a movement for justice. It's something else entirely. And it worried me then. It worries me now. Do you remember the 1980s and 90s? I do. We had done real meaningful work on race relations. Most people in the West genuinely did not care about the color of your skin. Were things perfect? Of course not. But we were heading somewhere good. We were building something. And then we pulled it apart. We decided that every small, clumsy human interaction was a microaggression. We reframed the past as 100% negative, as though nothing decent had ever been achieved. We became so obsessed with naming every tiny slight that we forgot what real progress looked like. We unstitched the good work and called it enlightenment. Once I began looking with honest eyes, the contradictions were everywhere. We decided blackface was a mortal sin, but woman face? That was brave and fabulous. We insisted entire societies must be reconstructed to accommodate the preferences of fractions of a percent of the population. And if you question the pace or the method, you were a bigot, evil, or a fascist. We pursued reckonings for the crimes of Western civilization, slavery, church child abuse, colonization, and those reckonings were important, but we stopped there. Only the West was held to account. The transatlantic slave trade was a horror, yes, but it was the British who ended it. Meanwhile, the Islamic slave trade ran for centuries, and pockets of it persist to this day. Where's that reckoning? Who's demanding it? We created a world in which nobody is allowed to simply settle and build a life. Indigenous people must perpetually identify as victims. Everyone of European descent must perpetually identify as perpetrators for events centuries ago, centuries old. Yet nobody seems interested in acknowledging that white Westerners were not history's only colonizers, or that colonization in softer forms is happening right now. Mass immigration into Western countries is a form of soft colonization. That sentence will make some of you furious. But consider this. Why is it only European and other Western nations being pressured to diversify? No one begs Nigeria, China, or Latin American nations for a lack of diversity and not promoting the idea of multiculturalism. Only white majority countries are told their cultures must be diluted or they're racist. Wanting to preserve the native peoples and cultures of European nations is not xenophobia. It is a right that in the 21st century we wish to grant every non-white culture on the earth, but apparently it's a sin to want it or expect it for ourselves. And when it comes specifically to Islamic immigration into Western democracies, there are countless videos, not propaganda, Muslims speaking plainly, describing a vision in which the world becomes Islamic, in which Sharia law replaces secular governance, in which growing numbers translate to growing power. These aren't conspiracy theories. These are now publicly stated intentions. History tells us what happens when these numbers reach a tipping point. The freedoms we take for granted begin to erode. Some know this because they are ex-Muslims. Some know it because they are Westerners who converted to Islam and found it wanting, frightening even. Expressing that concern is not Islamophobia. It is pattern recognition. I'm going to skip through because it's a little bit longer. So I'm going to go to the closing. And the closing is, I am asking you, I am begging you to think. Consider that an alternate view might not be hatred. Consider that you may have been wrong about some things. I was. That's not a confession of weakness. Admitting a mistake and choosing a different path is braver than marching further down a road you already suspect is leading somewhere dark. You are not a bad person for questioning. You are not a traitor for thinking. The people who tell you otherwise are not protecting you. They are controlling you. That is all I ask. Just think, please. And I just thought it was
Wow.
extraordinarily well written and brave and honest, brimming with integrity and intellectual vigor, and I just loved it.
I have two reactions to that. One, that woman's obviously a bigot. And two, I'm disappointed that you did not try to do the whole thing in an Australian accent. So those are really my only two. No, that was profound. And the people I respect the most are the ones who, I think you guys probably feel the same way, are the ones that realize, hey, look, and she's absolutely right in that article. Someone that's like, hey, look, I was wrong, and I'm willing to sacrifice losing friendships, sacrifice losing comfort to try to do something different and better. And I think for me, as I grew up and grew older, realizing that the things that I thought, the beliefs and the phases I went through, they weren't mistakes. They were just paths. You learn something from everything you believe. I went through a
Yeah,
commie phase when I was like 18, but I learned stuff from that, right? Turns out
yeah,
Howard Zinn wasn't just like the people's history of the United States. I thought that was a be all end all. It's not that it was complete bullshit. It was just most bullshit. And there was still a lot of stuff to learn. And it's a ladder on the rung towards just being more knowledgeable and having a more well rounded understanding of things and people and how to live your life. And yeah,
listen,
kudos to that woman for understanding that. She is absolutely right. Those are the bravest people. Wonderful. No notes.
I know a few people that could read that and should.
And it can
yeah.
apply to anybody if believe in anything. If you're far on the other side of the spectrum, if you're in a cult, you could
No,
still learn from what she
and
said.
going from our personal experiences, the three of us, and you know, Josh, you can hit me with a joke if you want to, and that's fine. All three of us, when the chips are down, because we joke with each other and we, you know, and we drag each other, etc. But when I'm wrong about something, I'll admit it. When Josh is wrong about something, he'll admit it. Like if we have a tete-a-tete about like who hit the most home runs or who starred in a movie, and I might be sure that I'm right about something, right? And Josh and I go back and forth on it. But when the chips are down, both of us, and Scott, you and I do this about politics. We do it about um, social constructs. We do it about a lot of things.
The
Where
movie Pearl
each,
Harbor, whether or not it's good or not,
Shut
yeah.
up. Shut up, Scott.
it's trash. But I'm sorry. Please
Shut
continue.
up, Scott.
So the best people I know are the ones that are willing to say, you know what, I was wrong. You were right. I was wrong. Or I was wrong, and what you've said to me has made me rethink my position.
And the woman in that article framed that as bravery, and she's right. It's braver to do that because you're facing ridicule. You're facing your own ego, and you're telling it to fuck off, and that is so hard. It's so against human nature.
It really
Yeah.
truly is.
Yeah, no, I really am glad you read that. That's
and look
fucking
and look
kudos.
how long it took me to like, you know, get up to speed on like technology compared to you guys. I mean, in a general sense, for the last 15, 20 years. And, um,
You've just
and
learned Windows XP, and I'm proud of you.
I'm on dial-up internet right now.
That's what that noise in the background. Fuck. But no, sorry. Go ahead.
No, so and I was intransigent on things, and it was only through persuasion, right, and sometimes even a little bit of ridicule that I adapted, right, that I adapted and grew and learned, and like I don't know IT like Josh does, but I'm in an internet, I'm in an IT business, and I'm old.